Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai. In our last discourse, we heard all kinds of stories about karmas and how people had to pay the price for their past actions. We'll go on now with chapter 11. King Janamajaya said, O Veda Vyasa, you said Rama and Krishna took their incarnations to relieve the burden of earth. One great doubt arises in my mind on that point. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga, the earth, burdened and oppressed very much, assumed in anguish the form of a cow and took refuge under Brahma. Brahma then went with the earth to Vishnu, the lord of Lakshmi, and thus prayed, O Vishnu, let you with all the other gods incarnate soon on earth at the house of Vasudeva to relieve the earth of her load, as well as to protect the righteous. When Brahma thus prayed, Vishnu incarnated as the son of Devaki, along with Balarama, to lessen the burden of the earth. And in fact, he relieved in a certain extent the earth by killing many vicious persons and many wicked and irreligious kings. But along with that, Bhisma, Drona, Yata, Drupada, Somadatta, and Karna, the son to the son, were killed. But see that those who plundered afterwards his riches and stole away the wives of Krishna, whose crows of Saksas and Malikis and other vicious people remained alive. And how could it then be said that the earth was relieved when Krishna did not kill those people? O fortunate one, when I see all the people in the Kali Yuga addicted to sinful acts, this great doubt is not going out of my mind, how the earth has been relieved of her load, her burdens. Veda Vyasa said, O king, as the yugas change, so the people change in course of time. Nothing can alter its course, for this is caused by the Yuga Dharma, the Dharma peculiar to each yuga. Therefore, if all the subjects that are considered wicked and vicious according to the law of the Yuga Dharma, then this creation would be destroyed. Hence Krishna killed only those demons and vicious kings that were really the burden of the earth. The persons that are devoted to religion, taken their births in the Satya Yuga, those that are fond of religion and wealth, they become manifest in the Treta Yuga. Those that like Dharma, religion, wealth, desires, they are born in the Dwapara Yuga. And those that dote on wealth and lust, they are seen in the Kali Yuga. Know this is certain, that these characteristics peculiar to each yuga never vary. And now this too, that time the Lord of Dharma and Adharma is always present. The king said, O intelligent one, where are those pious persons now that were born as high-souled religious persons in the Satya Yuga? Where are those munis now who were devoted to charity in the Treta or Dwapara Yuga? Again, where will these shameless and meritless people that are being seen now in this Kali Yuga, these vicious creatures that revile their own gurus? O highly intelligent one, I am very eager to know how these religious matters are brought to a decision and settlement. Kindly describe to me in detail all these secret truths. Veda Vyasa said, O king, persons born in the Satya Yuga that perform acts of merit go to the Deva Loka. The Brahmins, Kshatras, Vaisyas, and Sudras, if they remain in their own sphere and if they be devoted to religious acts, go to their respective spheres carried by their meritorious deeds. By virtue of truth, mercy, charity, going to one's own families, not injuring animals and having no jealousy, and showing mercy equally towards all, by practicing these universal forms of religions, even the lowest caste and others all go to heaven. So in the Treta and Dwapara Yuga, men go to heaven by virtue of their merits earned in practicing their own dharmas. But in this Kali Yuga, persons addicted to vicious acts go to terrible hells and remain there till the end of the Kali Yuga, when they will be again born in this earth. When the Satya Yuga begins and the Kali Yuga ends, at that junction time, the virtuous high-souled persons descend from heaven and are born on this earth. And when the Kali begins and the Dwapara ends, the vicious souls come on the earth again from their hells. O king, know this as the course of time, it never becomes otherwise. See then that the Kali Yuga tends to do vicious things, and the people therefore become vicious. At times, the birth of beings take place otherwise than the law of yugas, out of the strange combination of fate. For example, good persons are seen in the Kali Yuga, and vicious persons are seen in the Satya Yuga. For this reason, those that do meritorious acts in the Kali Yuga are born as people in the Dwapara Yuga, so the Dwapara good persons take their births as people in the Treta, and the Treta good persons are born as people in the Satya Yuga. Again, those who are vicious in the Satya Yuga become persons of the Kali Yuga. The jivas suffer miseries on account of their own bad karmas. They again suffer more miseries by doing over and over again those bad karmas by virtue of the Yuga Dharma. King Janamejaya said, O Veda Vyasa, describe particularly the details of the Yuga Dharma. I am now very desirous to hear which Dharma is for which Yuga. Veda Vyasa said, O king, I will now show you by example the influence of the religion peculiar to each Yuga. Hear it attentively. O king, the hearts even of saints are quite disturbed by the Yuga Dharma. See, your father was a religious and high-souled monarch. Still the wicked Kali defiled his mind and prompted him to do an act very insulting to a Brahmin. Otherwise, why would he, seeing a renowned prince amongst the Ksatras, being a renowned king among the Ksatras and a descendant of Yayati, thus go and encircle a snake around the throat of an ascetic Brahmin? Therefore, O king, all actions are being influenced by the Yuga Dharma. The pundits who recognize this say, if you try your best to perform any religious act, even then the Yuga Dharma would prevail, yet you would be able to perform to a certain extent a part of your intention. In the Satya Yuga, the Brahmins were very well versed in the Vedas, always devoted to worshipping the highest force with an ardent desire to see the Devi. They were devoted to Gayatri and Pranava, devoted to the meditation of Gayatri, always reciting silently Gayatri and the Mahabhijya mantra, the chief mantra. In every village, the Brahmins were very eager to erect temples of the Devi, Mahamaya, Ambika, and were very truthful, merciful, and pure, and devoted to their own respective works. The Ksatras, skilled in the science of the highest knowledge, were ever engaged in doing things ordained by the Vedas and were always intent in protecting well their subjects. The Vaishyas did their cultivation and trade, and the Sudras also served the other people. Thus, in the Satya Yuga, all the castes were devoted to the worship of the Devi Ambika, the highest Shakti. But in the Treta Yuga, the observance of the religion declined a little, and the Dwapara, it declined very much. O ornament of Indra, those who were Rakshasas before, they became the Brahmins of the Kali Yuga. They are the flowers of atheists, deceptors of men, untruthful, without any Vedas, devoid of the Vedic practices, arrogant, cunning, egoistic, and capable only to serve the the classes. Some of them try to find fault with the Sanatana Dharma and are the promulgators of various other creeds, wicked, fallen from their religion, and given to too much talking. O king, as Kali gets stronger, so the true religious religion declines and ultimately dies. And in that proportion, the Ksatras, Vaishyas, and Sudras are also devoid of their religion. When Kali will be in full swing, the Ksatras, Vaishyas, and Sudras will all be untruthful, vicious. The Brahmins will act like unkind people and will accept others' gifts. O king, the women in Kali Yuga will also be very unloyal to their husbands. They would be very powerful and insolent, willful and vicious and untruthful. They would think themselves vainly religious and learned and would always be ready to impart religious instruction and deceive their own husbands and be exceedingly vicious. O king, our minds are purified by the food that we take. When our minds are pure, the light of Dharma shines clearly. The customs and practices of the Dharma get intermixed with each other, and so arises the fault of Dharma Sankara, mixture of the several parts of religion with each other. When the Dharma Sankara creeps in, the Varna Sankara is seen. Purity in blood and other matters of birth are lost. Thus, in the Kali Yuga, as the dharmas will gradually die out and ultimately nothing will be heard about one's own religion. In this yuga, even the religion's high-souled persons will be found to do irreligious acts. The nature of the Kali is so, nobody will be able to quit it. Thus, in this age, men naturally commit vicious things with ordinary means. Therefore, no one becomes able to extricate from the worst vicious habits. King Janamejaya said, "O Bhagavan, you know all and you are versed in all the sastras. What will be the fate of so many persons in the Kali Yuga if there be any path? Kindly describe it to me." Veda Vyasa went on, "O king, there is only one path and none other which can save a man from the sin of the Kali Yuga, and that is this. The jivas must meditate on the lotus feet of the highest Divine Mother for the purification of all their faults and sins. O king, there is so much strength in her sin-destroying name that the amount of sin in this world falls much less in proportion to that. Where, then, is the cause of fear? Her name uttered at random, even in the unconscious state, bestows so much unspeakable results that even Vishnu, Shiva, and the others have not the capacity to know that. O king, the mere remembrance of the name of the Divine Mother is an atonement for a multitude of sins. Then it behooves that every man, afraid of the Kali Yuga, residing in a place of pilgrimage, ought to remember incessantly the name of the highest Devi. Even if everyone cuts, pierces, and kills all the beings in this whole world, he won't be touched with the sins if he bows down with devotion before the Devi. O king, I have narrated to you all the secret truths of all sastras. Consider all these fully and always worship the lotus feet of the Divine Mother. All men are reciting silently the japam called the Ajapa Gayatri. Still they do not know the glory of it. Such is the powerful influence of Mahamaya. All the Brahmanas are reciting in the depth of their hearts the Gayatri Mantram, yet they do not know the glory of it, otherwise they would have been liberated. Such is the great influence of Mahamaya. O king, I have described to you all that you asked me about the Yuga Dharmas. What more do you want to hear? Here ends the 11th chapter of the 6th book on the Dharmas of the Mahapuranas in the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshvari Mata ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai.